Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good day. My name is Zamakanyase, the national spokesperson of the ANC Youth League. So without any further waste of time, we're going to ask President Colin Malaji to come and read the statement.
Thank you very much, spokesperson Comrade Zama. After the NGC, every time I'm called, I expect a revolutionary song. Now, I was shocked that there's no songs today. Thank you very much. The African National Congress Youth League greets all members of the media, our alliance partners, organizations, and young people in South Africa. We welcome you to this important press briefing as we report on the success and resolutions of the second National General Council held in Kimberley. The ANC Youth League proudly declares the second NGC an historic and resounding success. This was not only the first major national gathering of the mass democratic movement to be fully paperless. This is the first major national gathering of the mass democratic movement to be fully paperless, but also demonstrates of the discipline and clarity and the unity of young people committed to advance the national democratic revolution. Over the course of the NGC, delegates engaged in robust and constructive debates on the state of the movement in our country and the challenges facing young people. The resolutions adopted are clear programs of action that will define the work of the ANC moving forward. On youth unemployment, a national disaster. The NGC declared youth unemployment as a national disaster. In just 2 months, over 200 mainly young people have lost their jobs. With only about 16 million South Africans employed and paying taxes, while more than 24 million depend on social grants. This threatens the fabric of our society. The NGC expressed deep concerns about the ongoing wave of retrenchment by companies across sectors, from the mining to retail, including major employers such as Sibaya Stillwater, ANCYL Metal, Telkom, Pick n Pay, Coca-Cola, which worsen this crisis and leave communities devastated. The ANC Youth League rejects the profit-driven logic of companies that abandon workers while protecting executive bonuses. Urgent state intervention is required to defend jobs and industrialize the economy and protect young workers from being discarded as casualties of corporate greed. The ANC Youth League demands urgent intervention to combat youth unemployment, includes a state industrialized program that protects and creates jobs, expand access to funding and skills program for young entrepreneurs and young people in general, ban on foreign exploitation of township economies, which includes spaza shops, saloons, tech shops, must belong to only South Africans. A radical program of land distribution and agricultural support for farmers. On local government and elections and service delivery, the NGC reaffirms that service delivery remains the cornerstone of building confidence in the ANC amongst our people. Delegates emphasize that the Youth League must drive accountability to ensuring that every councillor, mayor delivers tangible improvement in the lives of our communities. The NGC resolved that the ANC Youth League must vigorously contest all wards in the upcoming local government elections, with a clear emphasis on ensuring that the youth and women are fitted as the ward councillors to advance inclusivity, renewal, and generational mix in leadership. It was further resolved that ANC ward councillors who are performing well and have demonstrated accountability in their communities must be protected and retained. ANC councillors who are performing well must be protected and retained, while underperforming councillors should be replaced with capable young leaders and women committed in advancing service delivery. Delegates also highlighted that the ANC-led municipalities which are performing well must be recognized and be celebrated as a model of people-centered governance. For example, the city of Ekurhuleni in Gauteng was ranked one of the most performing metro municipalities in South Africa and the top Gauteng in 2024 government Clean Governance Performance Index, recognizing it as a service delivery and governance despite operating under challenging conditions. In Limpopo, the city of Polokwane is also consumed for 100% spending of their budget. On water, the city of Polokwane has been commended for 100% spending of the water service infrastructure grant and maintaining an unqualified audit outcomes and advancing a digital innovative governance, while Lepelle Nkuni municipality has been recognized for sustaining a clean financial audit and avoiding wasteful expenditure. Beyond this, Capricorn District Municipality in Limpopo, African Zone Municipality in the Eastern Cape, Plixilgasim District Municipality in Northern Cape, eThekwini Municipality in KwaZulu-Natal continue to expand access to clean water and sanitation infrastructure and community services. These municipalities prove that where ANC employees are committed and accountable, and people-centered service delivery thrives, and lives are positively impacted. The NGG salutes these municipalities and calls for their successes to be amplified and amplified across the country so that every community experiences the impact of effective ANC leadership. Water is a human right. The ANC League has reaffirmed that access to water, reliable water, is a constitutional right and not a privilege. We note with concern that millions of South Africans, particularly in rural and township communities, continue to struggle with limited and unsafe water supply due to power infrastructure and corruption, mismanagement, the commodification of water where industries and elites enjoy reliable supply while the poor are left behind, undermines both human rights and national development. The ANC League calls for an urgent investment in water infrastructure, strict action against corruption in water boards and municipalities, especially those that close water in the interest of water tankers at the expense of our people. We want a people-centered approach to water that prioritizes dignity and health and equality. On education, expanding access and the fight for exclusion, fighting against exclusion. The NGC welcomed the announcement of a new university in Ekurhuleni, calling for its urgent implementation as a hub focused on social and science and technology. In line with the 2021 declaration, the ANC League also calls for a fast-tracking of the TUT Sekhukhune campus to expand access to higher education for the youth in rural areas. The NGC further resolved that existing universities should establish campuses closer to townships and rural communities, ensuring that more students who meet entrance requirements can access quality tertiary education despite limited spaces and funding. We also resolved that the blacklisting of students who owe fees must be cancelled immediately. The cruel practice of punishing students for structural inequalities denies them future opportunities. The Institute League will intensify the fight to ensure that no student is excluded from education due to poverty, crime, and gender-based violence. The NGC noted with alarm the rise of crime and drug abuse and culture of violence across communities. The youth resolved to reclaim our streets from drug dealers, organized crime, working with communities to restore safety. Gender-based violence, and the NGC declared that South Africa can no longer treat the rape and killing of women and children as a business as usual. The Institute League demands that rapists and murderers faces the harshest punishment with no parole, and the justice must protect victims. The NGC also resolved to confront the crisis of teenage pregnancy and declared that kids cannot be raising kids. Every teenager must be in a classroom, not trapped in the cycle of poverty. Those who prey on minors must be jailed with no return to our communities. On the issue of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, the NCU League welcomes the consignment of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and the important work it has undertaken to expose entrenched crime syndicates, procurements of cartels, and corruption networks that have systematically looted the state resources, undermined the service delivery. The Commission's hearing have already revealed how criminal syndicates infiltrated state institutions and how politicians, officials, and business figures collided to defraud the public purse. We also know the serious allegation raised to the commission, including those against a DAMP, which we see the media does not say DAMP. When is a DAMP? They say MP. When is an ANC MP, they say ANC MP. Now the inconsistencies, we're watching them closely, which confirms the extent in which corruption and criminality cut across political lines. The Institute League emphasizes that such commissions are not an end to themselves, but an instrument to restore justice. We therefore call for their findings to be acted upon decisively. And South Africans cannot afford another commission whose report cannot dust while perpetrators continue to enjoy impunity. We look forward to the arrest and trials that will ensure that accountability, recovery of stolen resources, and the restoration of public trust in the democratic institutions. On media and accountability. The Institute League has reportedly fallen victim of sections of the media that fail to uphold proper journalistic standards. Too often, stories are published without accurate research, without offering the Institute League a right of reply, and in a way designed to tarnish the image of the organization rather to inform the public about truth. The Youth League emphasizes that freedom of press is a pillar of our democracy, but with the freedom comes responsibility to practice fair, balanced, ethical journalism. The ANC Youth League calls for the media to report with integrity, to give organizations a fair opportunity to respond and to place the truth above successional and journalism one-on-one. Our movement will not be discredited as a derail by distorted narratives, and we reaffirm our commitment to speaking directly to young people and communities about our resolution and program of action. On the popular culture and the creative industry, the NGC recognized the critical role of popular culture in shaping the values and inspiration and identity of young people and the youth resolved. Organize and unite creative industries to ensure artists are fairly represented and protected. Fight against exploitation of contracts and abuse of record labels that strip young artists of ownership. Promote music and film and fashion and sports and digital content that creates creation as a vehicle of economic empowerment. Encourage a culture of pride, innovation, and African identity in resistance of colonial and capitalist domination. On digital liberation and data costs, the ANC Youth League welcomes the Parliament Portfolio Committee of Trade and Industry and Competition in raising an urgent concern about data expiry and the high cost of data. The ANC Youth League reaffirms that access to affordable, reliable data is a necessity in a digital age, not a luxury. Young people are unfairly excluded from education, job opportunities, and economic participation when data remains prohibitively expensive and when unused data unfairly expires. The Youth League calls for an urgent regulatory intervention to ensure affordability in uncapped and accessible data for all South Africans, particularly the youth, as a part of a broader struggle for digital liberation. On economic transformation and non-negotiable demands, the NGC reaffirms that South African economy remains fundamentally untransformed. The ANC Youth League will not allow a handful of elites to monopolize the country's wealth while millions remain in poverty. Therefore, the NGC adopted non-negotiable demands that guides our struggle. Exploration of land without composition as one of them. Nationalization of commanding heights of the economy, which are mines, banks, state entities, must serve the people, not capital. One People's Bank, a merger of Post Bank and African Bank into a strong state bank. Protection of township economies from foreign exploitation. Beneficiation of minerals. Only 30% of exports, with 70% processed locally to create jobs. Digital liberation. Free access to AI advanced digital tools for all South African youth. Buildings, people's state. The guarantees of education, health, and housing and sanitation as a basic service, as a birthright, not a privilege. Those are demands that the Youth League have put forward. on international balance of forces, the NGC assessed the shifting of global landscape. As the Western dominance declines, Africa must leverage its mineral wealth and industrial capacity. No iPhone exists without Congolese copper belt. No fuel-efficient car without South African platinum. The Youth League stands in solidarity to the people of Palestine, Western Sahara, Sudan, Cuba, Venezuela. We further call for BRICS to advance a single currency and a visa-free travel to strengthen the global South cooperation. Justice for Nkateko. The NGC demands for the late Nkateko. The NGC demands justice for the late Nkateko, who was brutally murdered en route to the General Council. His death is not only an attack to his family and comrades, but on the youth itself. We demand the law enforcement to urgently bring its killers to justice. On an early conference resolution and unity of the organization, the NGC resolved that an early conference must be convened to consolidate unity, renewal, and leadership mandate, and strengthen the organization ahead of the critical struggles ahead. Above all, the NGC declared that the unity of the ANC and the Youth League is non-negotiable. The ANC remains the only asset owned by black people, and the Youth League will fight in defense and rebuild it. The National Executive Committee will convene urgently an urgent meeting to decide on the date and venue for our early conference. In conclusion, the Second General Council has renewed a spirit of the ANC Youth League. We left Kimberley more united, more militant, and more determined than ever to champion the struggle of young people. We commit ourselves to build a power. We commit ourselves to build a power in communities, workplaces, and campuses, and the streets until the pillars of inequalities and exploitation are collapsed. The ANC Youth League stands ready to lead a youth of South Africa into a new era of economic, social change, and national renewal. Thank you.
Thank you, President. I'm going to open for a set of hands. Okay. So it's going to be yourself there at the back, and then you'll be number 2, Shabalala, and then number 3, number 4, and that sequence.
This is my name from Welela News. President and the leadership, on what it's been said, I just want to speak to, firstly, to the Youth League as asking for justice of the killing of leadership. It's not only him. Thugs in the country, they are pulling the trigger willy-nilly. As the leadership of the youth and the future leader of the government, what do you say to those that they are so confident to pull the trigger to the masses of the country? And as we know that you've already heard what has been said, although it's untested, the allegations that are before the commission, it is worrying what is happening in the country. So please respond to that as a youth league. And you want to take over the country that it's people they shoot as they like to anybody. And even our police, they are armed, but still they get shot and killed. The second one, when talk to the local government elections that are coming, there's a position by your alliance, which is the SACP. As the Youth League, what is your take, and did you manage to talk to your Alliance Youth League regarding the elections? And coming to the elections as well, there are those that are having a dual membership. In the Youth League, how are you going to deal with that? If there are those as well in your executive that are having a dual membership, so ngizawugcina apho nikeza abanye a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mawani. I work for the Sunday World. Leadership of the ANC Youth League. So, President, you say that you guys are proposing the merger of the African Bank and Post Bank to form one state bank, which is a solid demand, I think. But my question is, what is the timeline, and what then if this doesn't happen? Surely you can't just make demands out of the air. You must have timelines as to when these things must be achieved, and there should be consequence management on the government if these things are not done, especially knowing that state bank resolution was long taken even by the NC motherboard. Two, what is the logic and thinking behind this resolution on the early conference? In simple terms, what is it that you guys seek to achieve through an early conference? Is it an indictment? Is it an issue of realizing that the current Youth League NEC is not up to the task, or what is it? In fact, I don't want to put words into your mouth. Just explain to us the logic. What led you to come to that resolution? And then thirdly, as we know that the NGC is a mid-term review platform, what did it say about the performance of this Youth League NEC? Because you are making things that are futuristic, but you don't say that since your election, this is what we said. We said we are succeeding, or we are a flop, or what is it? What did it say about the performance of this NEC that you lead, President Marachi? And then lastly, you speak also about your Youth League cadres swelling the ranks of all these wards ahead of the local government elections. Question is, are your cadres up to the task? And if you say so, how do you know that? Did you train them? Because there's a whole complaint about the capacity of councillors, as we saw on Monday by that joke by the national chair of the mother body. So the question would be, are these people just being pushed because they are young? Because that's the other mistake that gets committed. Are they only young, or are they young and qualified? And if you say so, what sort of backup evidence do you have that your cadres are the ones that are more qualified than probably members of the parent body? Thank you very much.
My name is Yamchanda Kapa from News 24. Can I start with the, Mr. President, the performance issue? You're saying that underperforming councillors must be removed and replaced with younger councillors. The ANC currently governs, I think it's 2 metros with the majorities, Buffalo City and Mangaung, and then the others where you have mayors that are from the ANC in other metros as well. But my question is around performance of your own mayors. Let's take, for example, Tata Morero, and then you go to Buffalo City, Princess, Faku, and then Baba Lobisha in Nelson Mandela Bay. Can you speak to me about your assessment of your mayors, your councillors that are heading serious metros? How would you assess their performance? And also, in light of what the president said on Monday about the ANC councillors could learn from DA-run municipalities, what do you make of that? Do you agree that the president is sabotaging your campaign and launching the DA's campaign? You also mentioned Ekurhuleni. You said that city of Ekurhuleni is ranked one of the best performing metros in South Africa. Are you aware of the quality of life in Ekurhuleni and the kind of complaints that come from that municipality? And also, in terms of audit outcomes, I think they got a they got unqualified audit outcome with findings, and it was a regression from the previous years of clean audits. But put that aside, I'm speaking to the quality of life and what things are like on the ground for residents and people. How then do you say that it's one of the best performing municipalities? Thank you.
Thank you. It's Natasha Perry here from SABC News. Just, I think I'm covered by Siam Tanda on the performance of your various municipalities with the ANC leads. But in terms of the ANC Youth League itself, your performance as a youth league, how well you've done. Mawande raised a critical question, but I just also want to know, perhaps if you could just rate yourselves out of 10, you know, how would you actually rate yourself? Could you say that since you guys were elected, you've managed to champion the interests of young people? You saw what happened. There was a whole furor around the National Credit Act. Others are saying it might be an own goal, you know, by the ANC itself. And then at your NGC, you heard what the Deputy President of the ANC, Mr. Paul Mashatile, had to say, that mobilize young people ahead of the polls or perish. I know that the ANC Youth League, you've announced a number of interventions. Yes, we'll go to the polls, we'll do this for young people. But I mean, Colin, you also raised it in your speech. I mean, we've got an unemployment rate that's currently sitting at 4.9 million amongst young people. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've got the issue of voter apathy as well and democratic backsliding. And young people don't find resonance anymore with the Youth League, with maybe the DA Dawn or whatever they call it, with young people who are in politics. How do you turn the tide on that? Colin, you also said, Mr. Malachi, you also said that you'll act on the recommendations of the Madlaga Commission. This is something that was echoed by ANC President last night in conversation Nomzwai. But seeing that General Mkhwanazi has implicated a lot of people, including lawmakers, business people, those within the ANC, should they be found wanting or guilty, what must happen according to the Youth League? Yeah, thank you. I think I'm fine for now.
I think on the issue of the crime, you know, when the investigations are made on the Kateko's murder case, part of the things that were briefed on that I discovered is that there's a huge security present in those areas, guarding transnet networks, rails, because the Zamazamas, because if you know that area is mainly dominated by illegal Zamazamas. Now, when the state, we have a young MEC of safety there, which is the chair of the Youth League. Now, when the state move them out of the illegal mines, when they move out of there, they go and steal the rail infrastructure. Now, the PECL there, as they're investigating, is that there was a fight between the Zamazamas and the security companies there on this issue of the rail, which is an everyday thing, which the state is wasting a lot of money trying to defend rail against illegal foreigners. That's why we're clear as the Youth League that the issue of illegal foreigners and Zamazamas we can no longer be an issue of discussion. It must be something that we cleaned out urgently, because some of our small towns in the Makosani area, that area of Makosani, they are literally hijacked by illegal miners, and it's a known thing. If you go to the Western End, they're hijacked. Now, we can't be in a lawlessness state. Now, the police must do their work. If the police are failing, the soldiers must come in. The community safety program must come in. We need to clean our country ourselves, because if you don't do that, we'll wake up one day in a lawless country which is hijacked by criminals who have guns that even police don't have. That's another problem we have. We have people in the country who are here illegally, who have guns that even the police don't have. Now, if you check the rail, you check everywhere else, the illegal foreigners are literally heavy on our infrastructure. If they're not heavy on our health system, they are also destroying our infrastructure on a day-to-day basis and operating. Now, I fully agree that the action must be taken urgently. We can no longer speak slogans about it. We need a police system that can protect people. The role of the state is to protect the people of South Africa. If the state fails to protect its people, it becomes a failed state. Now, I don't believe that we've arrived to a stage where we're a failed state. Now, we must be able to, if we can't protect our people, it means we're a failed state. Now, it's urgent that we urgently act on such behaviors and the corruption in the police service. Now, I'm happy that the commission is in place now. A lot of corruption will be exposed, and many people will fear to continue doing as they please. On the issue of the SACP and the YCL, we're having engagements with the SACP. Not long ago, I had side engagements with the GS of the SACP, Comrade Soli, when we met at the CC of Kosatu. We're engaging each other because we know very well that we can't afford the National Democratic Revolution to be suspended like in the Western Cape, where the government is in the hands of right-wing liberals who have no interest of our people's interest. Now, our interest is for the people of South Africa. Whatever issues of sharing of power that we must resolve, I think must be fast-tracked. No one can benefit from arrogance and fights. We urgently have to unite to defend the base that we have, because ourselves and the ACCP, we share the same base. If the ACCP contests elections, they're not going to get votes from anywhere else. They're going to get them from the base of the African National Congress. And that, if they succeed to do that, it might reverse the gains of freedom. On the State Bank, I've been saying it, if the ANC can implement all its resolution, there will be no need for us to do door-to-door. I can tell you now, if the ANC can just take those resolutions and implement them, and ministers who are deployed in government, we're not deploying them there for creativity. We don't want their thinking or their brains. We want them to take the paper called the resolutions of the ANC and implement them. We don't want ministers who want to go and create their own resolutions. People have voted for the manifesto of the ANC and this resolution. Now, all of these ministers must implement that. I've asked all the ministers. It still doesn't make sense why NEFSAS, why SASA, it does not bank with the post bank, all of it, to empower that bank as a bank of option. Now, it's because of corruption. It's because some of these officials are corrupt, these DGs. They take money from big commercial banks, then they sabotage a post bank not to perform as a bank of option so they can present it as a weak bank and work with their friends to privatize it and sell the post bank. When it's privatized, it performs. When it's not privatized, it doesn't perform. So that they build a case to privatize state-owned entities. We're not going to agree that state-owned entities are privatized because we believe they are created for the purpose of our people to address the high level of inequalities of this country. Our people are still dispositioned. If you go and take a loan from FNB, they might not give you, but a white male, they'll give you immediately without a doubt. Now, but if there's a post bank, we know very well a state bank will give an option to those that are former disadvantaged and South Africans in general and give them support, whether it's business funding or loans to develop their properties. Now, urgently we're saying SASA must move all its budget to post bank. We're saying NEFSAS, they must cut away these middlemen that are using and take those resources to post bank to assist the student. The corruption must end. Our people have suffered, have paid the price. The days of corruption have ended. Now, on that issue, we're fighting very hard. We're going to the NGC now of the ANC in December too. We're not going there to create new resolutions. We're going there to ask them on how far is the implementation of resolution. If failure to do that, those who have failed to implement the resolutions of the ANC will call upon them, that NGC, to immediately step down and give opportunity to those who are ready to respect resolutions of the ANC. On the issue of the early conference, branches of the ANC Youth League have made an assessment that we're working very hard as a collective, as the leadership, but we have an NEC of over 40, 50 people. They've made an assessment that some of them, they don't seem, if not majority, to be as committed as everyone else. Now, we've said that maybe we must reinforce new energy into the structure so that many can, because most of them, maybe some of them have lost interest because of their off age, maybe some of them have lost interest because of new deployments. But they're saying that if this energy is infused with a newer generation of young people, a mixture of different generation of people who are committed, will be able to save the African National Congress on local government elections, will be able to influence, because when the time comes of the ANC 2027 program is open, the Youth League as a body of opinion, the ANC will want to influence who becomes the young leadership of the ANC. And we can't go there when we're a structure that is not as strong as it's supposed to be. Now, it's not because of that, but on the performance, we can rate ourselves 6 out of 10, because honestly, comrades, we've done in the 40% where we are. We've been responding to critical issues of society every day. There's no day where there's an issue, including the one of TTIC. We're the first. I know other political parties are claiming it. The Youth League is the first to speak against that law that was going to be put in place to indebt many of our students. We pushed until it was removed. That is the Youth League, and I know very well that many other political parties claim that is the Youth League the first organization to speak on it, and on many other issues, whether it's the unemployment of doctors, we've done that, but also, comrades, whether we've successfully convened the second NGC of the Youth League, under 40%. I'm saying that those days, the others were at 60%, whatever. With legal resources that we have, we're able to do all of those things, but we're not yet there, because we're still dealing with restoring the trust of the youth in the youth league. Because the disadvantage we have, unlike other political parties, we're a youth league of organization that has been a ruling party for the past 30 years. Now, as much as we're pushing for accountability, but we must also take responsibility for certain things. Whereas responsibility for the good work the ANC has done, but we must also be the first to be critical when the ANC has not delivered in certain areas. But it is not true that the ANC has done nothing for the past 30 years. It has done a lot to change the lives of our people. On the issue of young councillors deployment, it's our call that we must infuse a younger generation. But we've also made an emphasis on our statement that we're going to contest all wards in South Africa. The Youth League must be in the forefront of it because we are in communities every day. But we've said also in areas where there are ward councillors who are performing very well and they're not young people, we're going to support them because we're not going to remove everybody. Those that are performing, we're going to support them to continue doing the work. We're going to support women councillors, because women, we believe that they're a majority in this country, because we believe that the power dynamics of the country must reflect the demographics of the country, which are youth and women in majority. Now, it can't be that, it can't be vice versa. It must always reflect that, and the ANC must act on it, on those things. On the metros that are not performing, which are ANC, the ANC is sitting on it. They've set up an intervention local government committee. I believe the ANC will act on it. In Mangaung, they've acted in Mangaung. There's a new mayor there that is trying to do a cleanup in Mangaung, a veteran of the ANC. It's part of the intervention that the African National Congress is doing. Everywhere else where there's a crisis, the ANC acts immediately through its task team to make sure that it's done. If the ANC is moving slow, the Youth League will push them to move fast, because we're not going to go to 2026 election with mayors who are underperforming and councillors who are underperforming. We're saying that we will urgently show society that we're acting, and we're going to bring new brooms to sweep in areas where it's dirty. On the issue of the DA comparison by the president, look, the reality is that the DA is not performing anywhere. City of Tshwane, where the DA was in charge, it has collapsed the municipality to its ground. Is now through partnership of the ANC and other parties, we're trying to revive it. You go to Cape Town, they are only servicing one part of Cape Town, which when you land, you can't even go to the townships there because not service, because the DA policies are clear on a racial way of operating, because they are clear that they're only supporting one race. Now, they don't care about the majority of South Africans. It will be ignorant to say that we compare the ANC and the DA fully, because the ANC municipalities are mainly those that are in poor rural areas designed by apartheid system. Now, the constituencies that the ANC is servicing is mainly the constituencies in most cases. They can't pay rates and taxes, at all dependent on grants. But there's nothing wrong also to push what the president did, to push our councillors and say that you can't be beaten by a racist right-wing DA. You must always be better than them. They can't be municipalities of the ANC that are performing below municipalities of the DA. Now that one, I think it's a good pressure. Maybe the media might be taking it out of context, but it's a good pressure the president has put in place that no municipality of the ANC must perform below a municipality of the DA, because we have presented ourselves in society as being the best in society. And those that have been performing must be applauded. Ekurhuleni has been improving. We know that there were challenges in Ekurhuleni when the DA was in charge there until you have taken over. Where the financial problems there. Now that there's a new mayor, there's new leadership, you can see a lot of movements and progress in that area. Now I'm saying that everywhere where we take over, we fix. Even in Swana took over, we fix. Johannesburg, the mayor said it himself that he needs an injection of billions of rand for the infrastructure development, because the Johannesburg infrastructure has collapsed. This is a world-class city. It can't be the way it is. You can't even walk from here to Bree. We used to walk here. When I was leader of COSAS, I used to walk from Sisulu House as the PS of COSAS, Comrade SG. I used to walk to a taxi, go Bree, as young as I felt very safe. But today is the issue of safety in Johannesburg. And we're saying that the mayor and the leadership there in Johannesburg must urgently clean Johannesburg, because it's a world-class city, so it can't be the way it is. While we are fixing the infrastructure issues, fix the issue of safety, fix the issue of service delivery and water. You can't have water tankers in Johannesburg everywhere else, and it's normal. We need to fast-track. Rand Water must urgently fast-track their projects of fixing the issue of water. It's a big issue, the issue of water everywhere else in South Africa. We need to move hard. A lot of money must be put in place. There must not be any area in South Africa where human beings share water with animals 31 years later. it can't happen. You know, those are things that we must not discuss. I'm saying that those who are responsible must urgently act on them, because we can't afford such in South Africa, especially now. Those are issues that we need to correct on urgent basis. I think I've answered the issue of unemployment. We've mentioned it. We've given options to the movement. We still can't explain why there is no economic corridors. The president announced on a skills program that can take over 2.5 million youth into skills programs. We've spoken about the reskilling of the youth. There's money is there. The issue is implementation. The money is there. We're saying urgently those responsible must implement. That's why, as the Youth League, we're against the deployment of people as DGs and COs only on the basis of qualifications. Qualifications must be matched by them believing in the national democratic revolution. The ANC must not fear to deploy comrades as CEOs and DGs and board members as long as they're qualified. Because you can't expect a DA, DG who believes in right-wing policies to implement policies of the people of the ANC. Then when they sabotage you, you blame politicians. Now we're saying that they must be fearlessly, without fear, they must deploy competent comrades, because the ANC is the only organization that has got as many educated people as possible, including its Youth League. Now, no political party can compare itself with the ANC when it comes to experience of governing under democracy and the skilling of their leaders to be able to run this country. Now, we can't be shy away. It can't be illegal, because there's this perception created now in society that for being a member of the ANC means it's illegal for you to be deployed or to run the state. Now, I was saying that ministers and presidents must never fear to deploy competent comrades of the ANC. As long as they follow the right processes, they go to interviews and they are qualified, they need to follow that process and allow them to run this country moving forward. That's why we'll always protect the Deployment Committee of the African National Congress. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to take one last round of hands. Last one. Okay, so there are 3 hands. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. And we will then get the response and close. Yes, number 1 is there at the back.
Thank you. Regarding the succession of the ANC, at this stage, does the Youth League have a position of how that needs to happen, taking into consideration that it's actually been closed by the ANC? They are not talking about it, but you are an autonomous structure. Surely you should have a view whether who should lead it as president, or whether you would want to insert a person in the top 7 yourselves. And secondly, with the ongoing consultation by the ANC regarding resetting the GNU button, what is your view on who else should be brought into the coalition, and also on the continued participation of the DA, considering that so far it's successfully holding the ANC at ransom? So your comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you once more, Somlom. President, I just want to check if there's any time frame when it comes to Post Bank and African Bank. There's any time frame? Thank you.
Thanks for the emphasis.
You also skipped the Madlango Commission question. Just asked you if your own ANC deployees or comrades are implicated. What must happen? What's the position of the ANC Youth League? On Boma, I remember the ANC Deputy President last week Friday had said 2 arrests have been made. Please just give us an update as to two suspects have been arrested so far. That's what he said. As the Youth League, can you just provide any further updates? Thank you.
Mr. Malachi, I asked you to give your own assessment of the mayors in metros at the helm. I mentioned Princess, I mentioned Babalwa, I mentioned Tata. I forget the guy in Mangawong. Could you please just give us your assessment of their performance? And then you're saying that it would be ignorant to compare the DA and ANC municipalities. Are you saying the president is ignorant? And you said that it's not true that the DA is governing better. Are you saying the president is a liar? Please clarify. And very finally, I understand that your membership is sitting around more than 300,000. Can you confirm that? I think 330, please confirm. Are you happy with that membership? Do you have a plan to attract more young people to join the Youth League? And what is that plan? Thank you.
Just to also add on Siamtanda's question about the performance.
You're abusing us now.
So, I know the thing is, she reminded me of a question that you guys didn't answer. Just on the performance of the various deployees, like he said, is also a mayor of the ANC in Mogale City. I know that there were challenges that were experienced there in that municipality. Can you also rate his performance as well? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. You see,
no, you guys aren't listening. Okay, Siamtanda raises the issue of a performance of, right? So, like he said, I think she forgot to mention, like he said, and he's one of the youngest ANC mayors. I think he's 30-something, right? Just rate his performance. I know that there was a crucial issue last year in Mogale City of the issues of water. Oh, actually, let me just also add, what's her name? The mayor in Mirafong. There's a story that I'm doing about the sinkholes in that municipality. There was a recent water protest also in Mirafong. Just also weigh in there, because apparently the Department of COGTA, National COGTA, doesn't want to come in and help. There might be a dire situation where just the whole area is obliterated by sinkholes. And Upanyas and Sufi actually spoke on the SABC about that. Do you know anything about that? Can you also respond to her performance here? Thank you. Sorry,
Thanks. That brings us to the end of questions. Now we're only going to get responses and close. So I'm going to take the SG first, the president first, and then the SG will come in on the issue of the membership question naturally. President.
On the succession debate issue, the ANC has not opened it yet. Now we're not entering into it. We'll wait for that time when the ANC opens the succession debate, then we'll participate. It's an NEC decision which we're part of. That succession debate is closed. On the GNU, the NGC, through the adoption of the report of the president, have agreed that we must call upon the removal of all DA ministers who are refusing to implement resolutions and instructions of the president. Now, we're saying the president must urgently, because the ANC Youth League has diagnosed the DA as them being in government with us, but acting like an opposition. Now, they are not taking collective responsibilities and instructions of the president. Now, we're saying that the president must urgently act on them and remove them and bring in partners who are prepared to implement the program with us. The time frame on Postbank, it's urgent. It's a resolution. As soon as tomorrow, it must be implemented. That's why it's a battle we're fighting every day, because no one can explain why Postbank is not fully implemented and supported, and making sure that all, including the salaries of government employees and everyone else, state-owned entities, why the Postbank is not given a full commercial license to operate. Now, no one can explain that, and we're saying that on urgent basis, we'll be fighting this battle up until the NGC, to make sure, the NGC of the ANC, to make sure the Postbank is implemented. On the Maganga,
we also say, what then if it doesn't happen? Consequences.
Yeah, it's a fight we're taking. We've said in our statement that we will call upon the removal of those we've deployed if they're not implementing it. We've said it, that the NGC will be our battlefield as members of the Youth League, that those who implement, every minister and employee will be assessing them according to a resolution. If they have not met what the resolution say, we are going to call for the immediate removal of them. And I think that's what we've said on our statement. On the Maganga Commission, look, we're not going to associate ourselves with criminals. If you are in the Maganga Commission and there's proof that you have done criminal activities, you are not our comrade. You don't deserve to have membership of the ANC. Now, anyone else those who are accused must go and prove that they are not guilty. If they are found guilty, they must immediately vacate the African National Congress. We're clear also on our step-aside policy of the ANC. It's very clear. The ANC no longer associates itself with criminals. That's why when last you see comrades of the ANC wearing T-shirts of the ANC in courts, you'll never say that thing is illegal now. If you are arrested of a crime, you go alone to court, you cry alone to cameras everywhere else. We are not there with you because we have not sent you to go and steal on behalf of the African National Congress. Now, everyone, even myself as a president, if I'm arrested, I can't expect the Youth League to be dragged into court cases because it's president arrested. The country and the ANC can no longer afford the ANC to be associated with corruption. Why that stage where we cannot afford? Even if you believe that you are extremely guilty or you are innocent, you will really have to face the music alone, unfortunately. We have arrived at that stage. On the Nkateko, the investigation are done there. Our MEC who's young, there's updating us on day-to-day basis. Yes, they've been arrested, arrests are made, investigation are in place. I will not want to speak on the case yet until there's a proper facts on it, because it runs the risk of me interfering with the investigation that is in place in that area. On assessment of mayors, I don't do I have not done that assessment of mayors, of all the mayors. It's the intervention, local government intervention team. I will check with our committee which we have deployed of the Youth League to do that. We'll get the report, immediately get a report on their performance. We'll immediately communicate our view about them, but our stands are very clear. No mayor of the ANC must be underperform. Everyone else must perform in the interest of our people. Now, I don't want to speak on a report that I have not. The president has clarified his standing yesterday. He had a one-on-one with SABC, if you have checked. He has clarified what it meant. And I think also in my explanation, I've clarified it, that there's no way that DA can be better than the ANC. He knows it. There's no way. I think he was taken out of context. He has explained it when he was explaining here. The DA can't be better than the ANC, even if they want to. Everywhere where they've tried, they can't, because we service the whole country. The DA only services a small minority. We service the whole country. Now, it's like comparing apartheid and democracy, when the National Party only services 10% of people. Tina, the ANC services all South Africans. Now, the resource we're putting in place is more than what the apartheid government was putting in place. Now, you can't compare bananas and apples. It's impossible. It's impractical. It can't be done. I know that. I'm sure that the president also regrets mentioning the DA in that platform, because he was seriously under attack. And I saw the opportunism of DA and Helen Zille making more DA clothes. And I don't know what that, being a president is difficult sometimes, because you sometimes say things, then you get in trouble. I always get in trouble myself of saying things. Now, it happens, but it's part of the responsibility he occupies. He must take the bullets on behalf of the party. What we are saying to you now today is that we are the first line of defense. Anyone wants to attack the ANC, we are the first one who wants to defend the ANC, whether internally or externally. Our job is to protect the ANC, because it's the only future we have in this country. Now, we can't afford anyone to be the ones that destroys the ANC. It's the only thing that we have. Now, if you want to attack the ANC, you must first come through the Youth League. Now, even the elections we've resolved that we're taking them over, we are not giving them to anybody. There is no one who's going to run elections in this country. It's going to be run by the Women's League and the Youth League. All those who are running, they will run. I don't know why they'll be running, because we'll be running the elections ourselves. We're not giving that responsibility to anybody. We want, if the ANC loses elections, we must take responsibility for it ourselves. We don't want to be blaming anybody. That's why we've made upon ourselves as the Youth League that the election campaign of the ANC, ourselves and the Women's League, we must take them over and run it. Anybody else, I don't know what they'll be doing. They'll be supporting the work of the Youth League. Like ANCYL is a performing young man. He's everywhere. You can see him everywhere, performing. He's trying his level best. He likes government, most like. Even in the ANC program, you'll find him wearing a suit. He's always ready to respond. Now, he's a very strong young man who's prepared to work and learn, and we must give him all the support. Everywhere we've deployed young people, you go to Tshwane, Boka, Nkilane, Mogale, you can see they're performing. You go to Ekurulele, Bomzaifane, and Energy. I'm saying everywhere where we've given young people responsibilities and around, they're working. Everywhere you put young people, you see them run. And they were saying that let's give them the support, and as the ANC League will do that. I know also in Johannesburg, we've got young people that are working very hard, the young councillors. I'm saying everywhere where we've deployed young people, they are doing their level best to save the African National Congress. On the sinkholes, it's a national issue. It's not an issue of a councillor. We've been fighting sinkholes. They are caused by many issues. People have held in wrong areas because of the apartheid special planning, the illegal mines, illegal mining that is happening in those areas. There are many, it requires millions and millions of rands to resolve the issue of sinkholes. And in other areas, you'll find that people don't want to move because it's ancestral land. They've buried their families there. They don't want to move. Now, when you want to move them, it's a bit difficult. It's like the Alexander issue, those who have been following it in the past. Natasha, where people of Alexander, no matter what you do, they don't want to move out of Alexander. Even if you can say you are moving them, it's a bit difficult because we know as Africans, we have attachment to areas we were born and our ancestors are at. It's very difficult to move them because if you move them, you must also move the graves. And it's a lot of work that happens. Now, those are things that apartheid left us with, the problems that the ANCYL government must resolve every day. But apart from that, I think we're on course. We are going to defend the ANC every day. Part of the reason some of us who left government to be here, it is because we wanted to fight to defend the ANC. That's why every day we're doing something. If you can follow the leadership of the Youth League, every day, Monday to Monday, we're reporting on duty, working to defend it. It's not easy because while you are defending, others are doing own goals. Now in the process, you are defending and cleaning and fighting. Now we're a big liberation movement. Our history, a big organization like ours tend to have such problems. But we're self-correcting, we're renewing the African National Congress on a day-to-day basis. Thanks. On membership.
President, thank you very much. I'll strengthen one point, then go to the membership. I know that everybody is aware that the Youth League has been calling for the full establishment of the state bank, hence the call for the amalgamation of the African Bank and the Post Bank in order to form a fully fledged state bank. There are two talks in South Africa as a national discourse. It's about the state bank and the black bank. You may be aware that others in other spaces are calling for a black bank, that there must be plurality of banks in South Africa in order to create a broad pool within which banking and financial availability is found in South Africa. I just want to make this point, President, about the capital assets in this country. You may be aware that the commercial banks of this country are worth 6.7 trillion rands. But the pension funds of this country are also 6.7 trillion rands. These are prescribed assets. When you go to the government employee pension fund, they are worth about 1.6 trillion rands. SO is 1.3 trillion and 45 billion rands. And you go to the National Reserves Fund, it's about 2.1 trillion. The worth of the South African Reserve Bank alone is 1.2 trillion. What we are saying is that there is no reason why there is no state bank in South Africa. Because all these assets, which are otherwise supposed to be prescribed assets or national revenue funds, these are state or public assets, which are supposed to be controlled, disbursed at a central state disbursement instrument, which is the state bank. You are aware that part of the lack of transformation of the South African economy is lack of access to finance by even SMMEs who own about 2.5 trillion rands. The unlisted SMMEs in this country, they are worth about 2.5 trillion rands. They don't get access to productive capital finance as in when they want to innovate or expand their businesses. But if there was a state bank, the state bank was going to act as a cushion for these particular SMMEs, particularly black-owned SMMEs who have been systematically excluded in participating, particularly in the productive sectors of the economy. And we're not buffing when we're saying there must be a state bank in this country in order to drive transformation and social change in this country. So I just wanted to expand that particular point, President, before I enter into the membership. In our organizational update to the National General Council of the ANC Youth League, we're very clear that our membership has been fluctuating due to a number of issues. One is that during, we have noted that during the electoral conferencing or conference times, our membership balloons, meaning it goes up because the appetite of young people is to be in structures and participate and all of that. But at a particular point where the Youth League is now functioning normally, the membership take a steady movement in terms of its number. And we have said that we have now above 345,000 membership. That's what we can account for of an audited membership of the Youth League, which is paid because the subscription of the Youth League is annual. So unlike the ANC, you can't subscribe for 2 years in the Youth League. You subscribe annually. You pay 10 rands every year. You don't subscribe for 10 years or 5 years, like you could do in the ANC. So we measure our strength at the backdrop that at least 300,000 plus young people join the Youth League annually. And that's what we are saying. We are doing very well as this 26 National Executive Committee. We have launched about 8 out of 9 provinces, over 40 regions out of 52 regions in the country in a period of 2 years. It seems as though we have been in office for many years, but in terms of building the organization and its hegemony, politically and ideologically, taking over the national discourse, the Youth League of the 26th National Executive Committee has been doing very well. And that's what we're reporting in the midterm review. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the SG and the President, and that brings us to the end of our press briefing. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, comrades. We usually take a picture.